Okay, so welcome everyone to our community coaching certification alumni call. And I'm here tonight with Tim Reese, and I'll let Tim talk a little bit about himself in a second, but I just want to say that Tim and I are from the same town, and he was part of the community coaching cohort that was in Detroit last year. But really, he's from Battle Creek, just as I am, and he'll talk a little bit about his work. So I love and I'm so proud of Tim and what he's doing in our community. And he is one of many people in our community who have a certified coaching certificate. And yeah, so Tim, why don't you go ahead and start by just telling us a little bit about what you're doing and how you're using coaching.
All right. Well, first of all, Kathy, thanks for the invitation. I'm really humbled and honored by the opportunity. So what I'm currently doing right now, I'm a retired educator, and I've created a nonprofit with another young man called RISE, Reintegration to Support and Empower. And what we are currently doing, we are focused on disrupting violence through reducing violence through trauma and from adverse, the ACEs, the adverse child experiences. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to empower and restore communities, families through positive behavior, behavior therapy, youth development, and social emotional learning.
Mm-hmm. And we can't say you're in retirement, can we?
Not really. I just retired to do something else.
All right, there you go. Tell me what RISE means again. You said it really fast.
And RISE stands for Reintegration to Support and Empower.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful. So talk a little bit, Tim, about coaching and you went through that certification course last year. Where is that playing in this in RISE, and then what's the impact?
Well, it plays in several different ways because the coaching is really evolved around getting people to change their mindset and how they think and how they process information. Yeah. When we are working with youth that have been exposed to trauma and violence, there's a certain mindset that's instilled within these youth to where, depending on the situation or the circumstance, one of the things that pops out right away is retaliation. They always want to try to get someone back because someone has done something to hurt or harm them and or someone in their family. So one of the ways we're using coaching is trying to get them to stop and think, pause for a minute, and really start to think about the consequences of the steps that they might take. How might they not only affect the families with their decisions, but how it could affect them and how it could really affect their life, not just short term, but long term as well. So.
So are you formally using coaching, or are you just using skill? Like, how is it showing up for you?
Well, it all depends on the situation and the circumstance. So, for example, there's a family that I'm working with right now, a mother and a young man that I'm formally using the coaching steps. But when we get referrals and we have small groups, I infuse some of the skills, from the coaching. So it just depends on the situation and the circumstance. But I think the program has really taught me how to balance that and when to really formally use it, and when I can just infuse some of the skills.
I like that a lot. Like sometimes coaching is not the tool we want to be using, right? And then exactly. I think that takes a little bit sometimes to understand that there are times when coaching may not be the best tool, and you start to, over time though, you start to show up as a coach. Like you just show up that way. And whether you actually formally use the skills, you're still showing up as a coach, or in your, it's different. I believe how you show up now may be very different than how you were showing up before you took the course or when you were a principal of a school. You know what I'm saying? So maybe talk a little bit about how you're showing up differently.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's just interesting that the family that I've been working with recently, I was having a conversation with her, and she was talking about some of the things that she was going through, and just out of nowhere, I started having a conversation with her about, think about, because one of the things that popped out at that time was, if you had a magic wand, what would you do differently? I walked her through it, and then I started talking to her about, coming up with a plan and what does it look like, and accountability partner. And that just came from nowhere.
Well, it came from somewhere.
You're right. It came from
Yeah.
somewhere, but just for me to instinctively just do that.
Yeah.
Back when I was an educator, or maybe even before I took this course, I wouldn't have had that type of conversation with her.
Yeah. Real briefly, what might that conversation have looked like if you hadn't had these coaching? Like what would look different?
Because I know the type of individual I am, I would have been a rescuer.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been trying to tell her what to do or give her solutions, as opposed to me allowing her the opportunity to process it herself.
Awesome, Tim. Yeah. And what difference does that make, do you think, in terms of impact on her? What difference does it make?
I thought it made a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, a huge difference, because I could tell in the tone of her voice how things started to change. Just the conversation, because when we first started talking, it was almost as if, she was really down. She didn't know what to do. She was struggling. Mm-hmm. And after our conversation, and I started talking to her about a plan. It was funny because she said, "You know what? I was just thinking about that a couple of weeks ago. Maybe I should start doing this." So it kind of rekindled that thought that she had. So we just kind of walked through it, and it went really well.
Yeah. I was picturing when you said she kind of came in down and tired and exhausted, and the powerlessness that she felt, and that's through your coaching and believing that she does have the answers, right?
Right, exactly.
She regains that power. It's
right.
You're calling out the power in her. And I don't know if you were like, "Oh, I'm going to do that," but you certainly did that through your coaching skills.
Right.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Is there a certain part of the program that sticks with you, or that you recall, or was a highlight for you, or something you really, really remember from the certification course?
I think one of the things that really stood out for me was being able to step outside of the box and take a risk, and not be afraid of whether you get it right or whether you get it wrong. Just go with your gut and what you feel at that time. And I felt that's one of the things that really stuck out for me. I think the other thing that really stuck out for me is that you and the rest of the leadership that works team, how you embrace each and every one in their individuality, and how you encouraged everyone, to be themselves and be authentic, and not be afraid to not only challenge yourself, but be challenged. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. And going back to what you said before that about taking risks and trusting yourself. And part of the learning certainly is you learn these skills and you learn a way to coach, and then it's infused with who you are, right? Like if you're authentically showing up, your coaching is going to take on the style of you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like you get all caught up sometimes in doing it right. And if you do that, you're not authentic usually. It's more like, you're all anxious. And that's what I love. Like I love about all of you is that you are now out in the world using these skills in very much places where you have passion and your style is coming through. Like you said, you kind of go back and forth sometimes between strong guidance and coaching and using the skills and formal, like, I love that. That's what coaching and community means, right? That's really, really awesome.
Kathy, you don't mind? I need to share this.
Okay.
And I want those that are watching to hear what I'm about to say, because it was really exciting for me. Remember, you guys had us write ourselves a letter.
You should have just got that. Yeah,
I got it last week, and when I opened it and read it, I mean, everything that I stated in that letter, I'm almost doing all of it to a T.
Wow.
There's a couple pieces that I'm working on, but when I read that, and it just took me back to where when I first started the coaching program
Mm-hmm.
and how I was really trying to process and think what it was I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
once that started, I started getting that sense and feel for what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I started taking small pieces of the coaching program and started to infuse it, and not
Mm-hmm.
just the practices, but what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blossomed into everything I wrote on the paper.
That's so cool. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
really wondering, Tim, I'm thinking maybe a cool exercise would now, before it gets too late, is to write another one to yourself.
I told myself, yeah,
Put a note in your calendar to open it in a year and see what's going on.
ah,
You know?
yeah, that might be cool. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, that's awesome.
exactly.
All right. Well, we're getting that to the end of our time.
Okay.
And so, one last question, and just if you answer this real briefly, like, so what, Tim? Like, how is the community of Battle Creek changing by the work you're doing? What's the impact of you in the world coaching and Rise? What's the impact on our community?
I think because of the approach that we're taking, Kathy, to work with these youth, we're addressing it from a mental health standpoint.
Mm,
You know, a lot of these kids have problems. And so we're not just mentoring, we're trying to get to the root of the problem
yes.
and then filter them out to the resources and the partnerships that we have
Yeah.
to really help. And I think that right there is really starting to change the culture and the mindset in the community in Battle Creek, because we are trying to find a different avenue to support them. And it's working so far.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. It really makes me think about, like, just coaching is about that, isn't it? Getting
Yeah,
to
yeah,
underneath the surface,
right.
getting down to what matters. And you're doing that through
Yeah,
this program for sure.
yeah.
Okay, Tim, thanks so much. This has been awesome. And I certainly
Thank you,
appreciate
Kathy.
your time. Um, and I cannot wait for people to see this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right. All right. You're welcome.
Bye now.
Bye bye.